Hi, I'm Megan Sorty. I'm a math teacher from San Francisco, California, and I started the MET program about 2 years ago. At that time, I was really hoping to learn some new technologies, and I had a vision that I would become an excellent presenter in the classroom with new techniques and new tech skills. What I didn't expect, though, was all the instructional design experience I would gain along the way. As I come out of the program, now 2 years later, I've learned all those new technologies I was hoping to learn, but I've also learned how to apply them. I feel much more comfortable thinking about what's best for my learners, thinking about instructional design strategies, as well as analysis and evaluation. As you go through this video, there's several artifacts that I'm going to be showing you, and they really show my journey from thinking about educational technology as tools to thinking about the instructional design and educational technology going hand in hand. The idea for this web quest came about because of cheating that I had noticed in the classroom and my inability to deal with it well, or as well as other teachers' concerns about cheating. I was noticing cheating like copying homework fairly frequently, and then the occasional heavier cheating, such as copying on a test or plagiarizing. And I knew students were bothered by this as well. So I created this web quest where students are introduced to the task of what cheating is in schools, and then are asked to craft a policy for their school. The Cheating in Schools web quest was my culminating project for 502, the Internet for Educators. In this course, I learned extensive HTML skills, coming in with only really basic web page design skills. I was really proud of the work that I did in this class as far as designing web pages, but also designing instruction. I think this class was really the turning point for me at the beginning of the program, where I started to see that all of the tools I was learning were really also going to be used in an instructional design capacity. On the task page, students are given particular steps to fill out, but have a wide range of ways that they can go about that. This type of open-ended assignment really appealed to me because it's not something I get to do too often in math, or it's not something I think about doing in math. So students would research kind of the cheating and plagiarism that might be going on at their school, create a new policy or revise their existing policy, have it out for review for parents, students, and faculty, revise if needed, and then they're going to share this with the rest of the school. So they actually create a multimedia presentation, so a PowerPoint or some other type of presentation to share with their classmates. And then finally, there's a rubric for teachers that would want to assess the work that these students did. A grading rubric for this assignment was also unique for me. In math, I typically don't use rubrics so much as answer keys. And although there are points given in a rubric fashion, not one so open-ended as this. So this was interesting to create what kind of conditions I would have students meet to create and complete this web quest. Near the end of my first 2 semesters in the program, I unexpectedly received an offer to teach AP Calculus online. I was excited, but wasn't quite sure what to expect. When I received the class, I realized it needed to be redesigned. It was basically a distance learning course at that point, where students worked out of a textbook and mailed assignments into me. So I set about to recreate it. And at the same time, I was lucky enough to take the 512 online course design class, which allowed me to redesign this AP Calculus class that I was just starting. The web-based design class used all the principles I had learned from instructional design, but applied them in a very real, concrete way. When I was taking instructional design, I still wasn't quite clear on how I was going to implement a lot of the ideas for a math class. For some reason, I could see it for other subjects, but my own was really difficult for me to envision it successfully online. So my course design was quite ambitious. I decided to redesign 5 out of the 6 modules I was using for a year-long course. And I created all of the materials and links, etc. In the early part of the class, I did an analysis on some of the problems that currently existed in the course and where I thought I could do some improvements. This was a very interesting process for me, again because I had just come out of the Instructional Design 503 class where we focused very intently on a single day of instruction or several days of instruction, and this was expanding that to a whole course. So I was able to come up with some of the problems I noticed in the first few months of teaching, as well as some of the things I wanted to solve. The big problems I was trying to solve was just the lack of it being an online course. We use the Blackboard LMS, but most students weren't used to checking in after the first week, and students were mailing assignments. I thought that was not the best use of anyone's time and money. And students really had no resources to fall back on aside from a hidden list of possible good websites. So I really wanted to create instruction for every week that students were working. One of the surprises in the web-based design process was that evaluation came so early. After doing it, though, it made sense. We often want to align what we're doing to standards, so we have to think about how we're going to evaluate what we're doing as well. So in this process, we evaluated the effectiveness, efficiency of the instruction, and the appeal. Something I really hadn't considered much prior to the instructional design course. And this course really cemented for me how important it is to gain learner attention and to stimulate motivation wherever possible. My actual course was created on Course Sites, a free product by Blackboard, and I was able to create 5 modules of instruction, announcements, message board forums, and links to things such as my contact information, the syllabus, etc. It's really provided a good platform for me to create an online class that works. Finally, a few other features of each module include an introduction, that's a recording for students to hear from me as to what I think are the most important aspects they should focus on, as well as some reminders. These are things that we would say in a typical classroom, but for students working independently, it was good to put in recent reminders. Finally, at the end of every few sections, there's a quiz or assignment for students to complete, all online. Prior to my taking over the course, tests were always taken with a proctor at a local school and had to be mailed back and forth, and assignments similarly were mailed or emailed back and forth. I moved much of that online so that students could participate at any time without waiting for outside proctors to transmit the information for them. As I reflect back today, almost a year since I've created this course, my current version of it looks much the same. I kept a lot of the graphics, I kept the format, and it's worked very well because of the principles that I was able to introduce and because of the ability to change it. At times I've had a problem or two that wasn't working out so well, but I could easily change it online. And students love the online aspect of being able to check grades, being able to have things like the syllabus and assignments always at their fingertips. And some students even love the message forums. One of the last projects I completed was in my 511 course where I created a multimedia tutorial for my AP Calculus class on curve sketching. This is really a culmination of everything I've done so far. It involved creating audio clips, doing graphics and typography. It involved doing a storyboard, really sketching out and planning not only the lesson part of this, but also all of the multimedia elements, the sequencing, and the elements that a tutorial should have. And then it involved learning a new program, Flash, which I had no experience with prior to this course. And I was very satisfied with the result because it not only looked nice and functioned well, but it was something I could use immediately in my current teaching. So I'm going to show you a few scenes from this. This is one of the scenes from the storyboard. As you can see, the storyboard really involved outlining everything from the font to the name of the page. And on subsequent pages, there was also things like what sounds would be played, what words would be said, what buttons would be pressed, etc. A look at the actual project will show you some of the many elements involved. Part of designing this was to teach students a topic and then make sure that they had really retained some of it before moving on to do their homework in the book. So at the end of the learning, there was these practice problems. So you can see the graphs I created. These are all buttons. That's an incorrect answer, and a correct answer gives a ding. There's a menu here at the bottom where students can go back to the main menu and start a tutorial or go directly to the practice problems. We'll just take a look at one of the pages in the tutorial. Finally, I was able to use animation on several pages in this tutorial to point out features that I thought were important. For example, here, the blue lines that are animated are the asymptotes of the graph, which is what we're talking about. So that really draws a student's attention directly to those lines rather than having a student search around for what they're looking for. I was also able to use the voiceovers to add additional information. I didn't want each slide to be too crowded, so each slide just had a basic definition or small bullet point of information, while the rest of it was conveyed by the audio. So students could both listen, read on the page, and be drawn into the graphics that were happening. As I finish the MET program, I'm really struck by how much I've learned and grown in the past 2 years. One of the biggest changes for me has been incorporating instructional design into much of my teaching, my learning, and my life in general. I'm now looking always at what are my objectives, what am I doing to achieve those objectives, how can I reach my students, how can they see that what we're doing connects exactly to our objectives. I've taken on several new classes in the last year. I'm teaching 3 online math courses now. When I started the program, this was just something I would like to do. So I've been excited to delve into the world of online teaching. And I've really used a lot of the tools that I've learned in the program. I use Camtasia regularly to create videos for my students and training. I use tools in Moodle and Blackboard as I teach online. And a lot of the techniques I've learned I picked up from professors in various courses or in my online teaching classes or advanced online teaching. I've been very fortunate to be a part of the program, and I've met really a lot of wonderful colleagues as well. I've been amazed by what some of my fellow students have made and by what I've been able to do in these 2 years.